And we are live.
Yo, good evening, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day, good night, or whenever you watching this. It's your boy Rich back again, one more again. Sunday Night Live, Real Talk with Rich. Got a couple of they at this point they're not even guests. I got some of my crew, my homies, my laborers, the Queen Tamiko, moderator for Black Superheroes Forever and Black Comic Lords, and of course I got the man himself, the Chief Don Dada, the High Priest of the Cult of Bas, and every other shenanigans. He gets drunk on Friday nights with his man Mark of Wakanda Whiskey and Bourbon Blurredom. You can find him, of course, terrorizing all the white creators on Twitter. My man Paul going on.
Yeah, I wish I could say that was wrong, but yeah, all right. I'll take that.
Yeah, so oh man. So first of all, before we get started with the show, how was everybody's day?
Pretty good after yesterday.
Yeah.
All is well
What
in my
about you,
corner of
Bruno?
the world.
Yes, yes, yes. It's been a great weekend. And before I came on tonight, I was having a conversation with my wife, and we were talking. My wife is a reading specialist, and reading is something that is close to our heart. And so, my wife, as a teacher, she's been teaching over 20 years, and public schools for over 20 years. And there have been a number of horror stories, as well as a lot of success stories as well. But there are stories where things that stick with you. And she was just sharing with me a situation that she was dealing with on Friday. And I would just bring it up here because I just feel it's on my heart, so I got to get it off so I can do what I need to do tonight as far as the show goes. But in short, there's a little girl that she's, trying to help learn how to read, and she's, failing. And her parents one of her parents is in the hospital right now in a coma. And the father is kind of been pushed with the burden of everything, not only with his wife being in the hospital, but with his little girl failing. The little girl, from all intents and purposes, according to my wife, and some of the things that she described, is dyslexic. And we have this thing in the Black community, and I need to stress this, those of you out there who have children and who have children who have disabilities or who have issues. If your child needs to be tested, this is no time for your ego. This is no time for your shortcomings about your life, because that's what people make it about. They don't make it about the kids, they make it about them. This little girl has been struggling for going on 2 years. Okay, my wife tells me that they've tried to get this couple, to get this girl tested for 2 years. Now she's being in a situation where they're going to have to retain her. And the thing is that, the one thing about living in a beautiful country like America, for all of its horror, for all of its destructive and its meanness, if you're going to be able to do anything in this country, you have to learn and know how to read. You have to. You can't access nothing if you can't comprehend what's in front of you. And so for all of my people out here who have children, and if your teachers come to you and tell you that your child is struggling, this ain't the time to be tripping on the teacher. It's your time to listen and try to work with the teacher, because you cannot do this without them, period. And so, I know that I'm someone that stresses about reading being fundamentals, but we literally are having a generation of children who will not be able to comprehend in the 21st century. That's what's going on right now. They're building prisons. based on fourth grade test scores. This is how demonic this system is. They figure like, well, you know what? Your kid's not going to be able to function in this society, so we might as well get ready to send him to prison. This is where we at, ladies and gentlemen. And on Real Talk with Rich, we sometimes hit you with real stuff. You know what I'm saying? I love to talk comics. I love to talk, life and all these things like that. But sometimes stuff gets in the way, and I have to address it, and then I can move it out the way, and I can have some fun. So my tidbit tonight, my passion, and my suggestion to all of you who have children, whether you have nieces, nephews, cousins, put a comic book in their hand. Listen to them. Let them read that comic book to you. Do something that will help that child access the American dream, because the alternative is to live an American nightmare. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox, and now I'm gonna get back with fun, Rich.
Oh, fine.
How y'all? I'm sorry, man. It just burns me up, and it be our own people. And here's the horror story to me, though. They were having this conversation in front of this child. Two teachers, grandparents, and the dad. The dad has the unmitigated gall to say that, baby, telling his child in front of everybody, baby, and I couldn't help but say to myself, like, Lord, I have no patience, which is why I'm not in education. But I couldn't help but think to myself, I was like, you know what? Somebody needs to check that, brother. But this is the world we live in. These kind of people that are being allowed to produce. Okay, so we got to do better, y'all. That's all I'm saying. We got to do better. So anyway, it's enough of that craziness. Okay, let's get to the show. Tonight we are going to talk comics. We're going to talk. Man, we got some hot topics on you guys tonight.
Let's give a shout out to Mike Carson, James Tomlinson, and Willie Cordy.
Hey, what's up, y'all? How y'all doing? We got some fire for you guys tonight, and I'm going to be unapologetic, and I'm going to light some tail up tonight. But before we do that, we're going to do books of the week. So, D'Amico, ladies first, could you bless it? What did you read this week?
All right. Well, one of the surprises, of course, is Catwoman 41.
Okay.
The Return of Onyx.
Hey.
Like I said, I don't collect Catwoman. I don't read Catwoman. I was turned off by the wedding that never happened. So I just left it all alone. I was mad. I bought several copies of that Batman 50 for nothing. So when I saw Onyx on the cover, I said, oh, okay, this might be fun. And it is. It's a total key. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything for those of y'all who haven't read it yet, but Onyx Adams from the League of Assassins is coming by to see Selena Kyle and see what she's up to, just to see what's up since Batman is not around. And that's all I'm going to say on that. So Onyx popped by, and the conversations between Onyx and Selena Kyle are hysterical. I love them. It's funny.
Okay.
Onyx Adams is a dope character. I mean, she's basically this ninja for hire, sort of a Ronin, former League of Assassins.
Batman approved.
Kind of extended member of the Bat family who does her own thing.
Yes. So she basically comes by to see how Selena is doing, check on things, help her out of the little situation she got herself into, and then goes on her way.
Right.
I want to point out something about this issue, but it's going to take me a second. Give me 1 second. There's a. Did you get this cover or did you get the other one?
I got that cover.
Because
the other cover is just Catwoman, and
no. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
Can you pull it up? Because this, of course, this is cover A. So
Yeah.
I didn't like the other variants, so that's why I didn't cop one of them. Because I'm good for a cover B. Because they're usually better.
Right.
But I don't believe that the other covers feature Onyx, only cover A, as far as I can see.
Well, there was another cover.
Oh.
There was, I don't know if this is cover B. I think it might be a cover B. It's this one. This is the Catwoman.
Oh.
This is the Catwoman, the Zoe Kravitz Catwoman from the new Batman movie.
Yeah.
This is the first cover appearance of her as Catwoman in a comic book.
Okay. I didn't see that one.
You didn't see that one. Well, you can probably still find it somewhere.
So no, I didn't see that one. So, okay, that was Zoe Kravitz. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll be honest. When I went to the shop, I didn't even see that cover. Not that cover, but I'm talking about the cover A. I think that cover got scooped up real quick. I probably can find that one before I can find cover A.
Because Onyx is on the cover. Can you tell us this, Tamika? Because I haven't read it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Is Onyx sticking around? Does it seem? No.
I think this was just a pop in, see what's going on, and pop back out to Gotham.
Because the cover of that cover A says Onyx is back. And
that implies she was gone for a while. So
yeah, but I thought hopefully she would stick around Gotham for a minute. But I guess.
Well, no, she's in Gotham, but see, Catwoman is not. Remember, Catwoman is not based in Gotham.
So, is Onyx going to continue on in the Catwoman book? Do you think, based on what happens?
I can't say that. I don't know for sure. But like I said, she just pops in, helps them out a little bit, pops back out, and goes back to Gotham.
All right. So I guess we're just gonna.
I can't say for sure that she's going to actually be seen in any more issues upcoming, unless someone decides to pull the League of Assassins in, or Talia al Ghul decides to do something outrageous that they all have to come back in.
Okay.
All right.
What's up? Anything else?
Yep. And the other things, my Mercari buys, I just got them this week. All right, Marauders 5, and Marauders 6. These are the Dark Phoenix 40th anniversary cover.
Okay, that's what's up.
All right.
Because of course I'm collecting all of the Marauders because of course Storm was in them. So I saw these and I said, "Oh, now these are nice." So this was the 40th anniversary of the Dark Phoenix saga.
Okay.
You know what I've liked what they've done in the X titles lately, finally, is although they won't give Storm her own book per se, they've given her the lead in a few of these books.
Mm-hmm.
So Marauders was her main lead.
With her and Bishop.
And which are my two favorite X-Men. And then now she's moving over to X-Men Red, where she's going to be the lead in that.
Yep, with Magneto and Sunspot behind her.
Yeah. Who's black?
I can.
You know what? Stop. Keep going. Can we get to your book, sir? Please.
I can't wait.
We'll address that later.
I'm just throwing it out there. I've heard on good authority that Sunspot is indeed black again.
No, we're not going down the rabbit hole. That's 3 segments down the road.
We are going to go. We are going to go there, though. Okay.
Can we see your book, sir? Can we see your book, sir?
So I don't have that much because I've actually spent a lot of time back issues and just doing maintenance on books. I spent all day today organizing my comics, which is a Herculean task. I need to hire people to help me with this. It's so bad. First book I'll bring up that I read this week, new book, Trial of the Amazons, Wonder Girl. Just a continuation of not a whole lot happens in the book, but I really get the impression that this book, the original Wonder Girl book, sort of ended prematurely, just rather suddenly, with issue 7.
Mm-hmm.
I really wonder if what had been intended for issue 8 had gone into this book, because this book is Joelle Jones. This is her book, and I mean that in the sense that she was there as part of one of the creators of the character. She writes. She's one of those rare artists that writes and draws her book. And the panels, what she does artistically, is just it's beautiful. It's just truly beautiful. Her rendering of the Amazonian home. It kind of reminds me of like a less technologically advanced, more focused on indigenous type of technology in the Amazon. But it's beautiful. Her renderings of it are beautiful. Her renderings of just the Amazons is incredible. I mean, it's just visually stunning. I can't say enough about her artwork. I'm truly impressed with it. But that's one of it. It's not as I said, not a whole lot happens story wise, but you get a little bit more background on the Esquecida, which is the Amazon tribe in Brazil. So that's one of my books of the week. Yeah, the other one I have.
That's basically what DC did when they chopped it off so soon. They just basically repurposed them.
Yeah.
The Amazon.
Yeah.
Those last 2 issues.
The other book I had was the one that everyone knows about, Icon and Rocket, season 1, number 6. Let me tell you, if you did not watch or listen to the interview that we did with Reginald Hudlin and Leon Chills, the writers of this book, you missed out. And I would strongly encourage you to take the time out and listen to what they had to say. What Milestone has planned for their universe is going to be groundbreaking. And this book is your first glimpse as to what they have planned and what the possibilities are. You see in this book, and I'm not even going to show you any panels from it because I don't want any spoilers, but I will say there are first appearances, there are team ups, there is a reveal of a new big bad that's coming up in the future. Just visualize this as a Black comic fan. Imagine having at some point a Black Panther 24 from that last run before this latest volume, the one with Ta-Nehisi Coates, the big team up book where T'Challa brings in all these Black heroes to fight in Wakanda. Imagine having something that epic in scale, but with Milestone characters, just all Black characters. That's the potential of what we have in the future. There's nothing of that scale in this book. But when you see what happens in this book, when you see the allusions that there are other characters that are out there, other heroes, other powered beings that are out in this universe, and then you hear the comments of Reggie Hudlin and Leon Chills, you know that's the direction that they're going to ultimately go. And that's huge. And then when you think about all of the marketing they're going to be doing, the merch and the movies and cartoons, I don't think people really understand how big this can get, but how important it is to support these books. Because if they're successful, you're moving Black comic culture forward in a high-profile mainstream book. If Milestone is successful, all of the Black comics will be successful. I'll say that again. If Milestone is successful, all of the Black comics will be successful. All of them will benefit because it will change the perceptions as to the profitability, the high profileness of Black characters in comics. For example, as like we saw with the Black Panther movie, which shattered the glass ceiling and the perception that a Black director, a Black cast, Black crew um, can't do a multi-billion-dollar movie. That myth is now over. The idea that a Black superhero main character on the poster, a movie poster in China, will not make money in China, that myth was blown out of the water with that film. Milestone has that same potential if they are successful. So I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for us to support these books, because they're in a better position to move the culture forward more so than any other books that are out there. Period. You can fight me on that. And those are my 2 books of the week.
Oh, it's my turn yet. Ah, golly, man. I was first about fantasizing about Milestone. Tragic. Well, look, my books of the week are, of course, since Paul talked about Icon and Rocket, I won't talk about it except to say that it was definitely a good issue. I had issues with the book, but I'm not gonna be overly critical, except to say that when these guys do these seasons the way they're doing them, you tell a story. There's you can tell when a book is rushed, or when they are kind of like putting so much in an issue to where, what I'm saying, it's like some of the things could have been more fleshed out, if I can say it. Like, it was fine, but I'll chalk it up to it being the last issue of the season. So they kind of rushed it, so to speak. But that's just my opinion. But my book of the week is Philadelphia issue 20. Philadelphia issue 20 is by Rodney Barnes, is an amazing book. As everybody knows, it's my favorite comic book, and for good reason. In this particular issue, we get a little bit more of George Washington and his diatribe, and he begins to talk to Seesaw. And they kind of work out, without giving it away or whatever, he basically come to some terms. And in coming to terms or whatever, we also were introduced to the werewolves in a little bit more of an intimate setting. Also in that, we were introduced to a new character who happens to be a witch. And so we're going to see where this goes, which is funny because we see that Corson, one of the rulers of hell, has been around a long, long time. In fact, he has seen it all pretty much, and he had been on the scene a long time. And George Washington talks about his interaction with Corson, and just the deals with the devils are just as old as sin. So it should be interesting on where it goes. This is actually part 2 of the story arc that we're on, and so far so good. One of the things I liked about this particular issue is that Rodney Barnes decided to give us, for those of us who are Philadelphia heads, he decided to give us a Elysium Gardens treat, in that there is a Nayor edition, which means that in essence, the comic book is in black and white. The whole comic is in black and white. If those of you who know about Elysium Gardens knows that was the backstory in the earlier Philadelphia books, and that was a story that was in black and white by Rodney Barnes and Jason Shawn Alexander. And so what they did was they decided to go ahead and give us a Elysium Gardens treat book, if you will, since the werewolves have formally made their introduction in this particular issue. And so with this being the 20th issue of this run, You know, it gets to be no better. It gets no better. So I'm looking forward to the next couple of issues. I know a lot of people are geeking out on the covers. I'm not necessarily a quote unquote cover guy. I will collect certain things when it comes to covers, but I'm more interested in the story. And so that's how I feel about, you know, Philadelphia issue 20.
Although
I did read
you're not feeling Corson's butt crack.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Nita Halls. That you know, the devil's ass is not going to be in my collection. I'm sorry. That's just not going to happen. You know. So,
Willie says. So he is the Mephisto of Philadelphia.
Pretty much. But he's a little bit more sinister than I would say Mephisto. So yeah. So that's my books of the week. We're going to go ahead and switch gears and get into some comic book news with our segment, Low Hanging Fruit. Low Hanging Fruit is a segment where we get to talk about topics that really don't take a whole lot of thought into. We just kind of look at the news and we kind of just kind of dish on it or whatever, you know what I'm saying? And so our first particular news bit comes from CBR in regards to the Black Panther 2 or Wakanda Forever movie, which just officially wrapped up its filming. So what's done in terms of the actual movie itself? Movie is done. All they got to do is add their special effects treat to this thing, work out what they're going to put in the movie, what they're going to take out of the movie, what's going to be the extra credit scene, and all that good stuff. So in November, November the 11th, 2022, you, Tamiko, Paul, all of us will be able to pack into a theater and eat $20 popcorn. And like my man Kay says, paperbacks and soundtracks, $35 slushies to enjoy another fabulous Black Panther movie. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. So guys, do you have any thoughts about the movie finally wrapping up after being delayed and Letitia Wright having her issues? You guys have any, comment on
that? I'm hoping that we will hear that there will be reshoots that will include a recast of T'Challa.
And the devil is a liar. And the devil is a liar. Can we go?
I'm just trying to avoid spoilers. I want to go in blind. I want to go in and be wowed. So I'm trying not to watch the trailers or any of that stuff. I don't want to see none of it. I just want to go into the theater and experience it in its fullness.
Right. Absolutely. It's interesting too because we're going to probably get a first look.
That's all I got to say.
We're probably going to get a first look, probably, and kind of hope. And I don't think we're going to. There's an outside chance we might get a teaser when the Morbius movie comes out, or I'm not sure what comes out after that, but we're probably going to get something coming out pretty soon here.
I would think Doctor Strange comes out in May, so they should be able to.
That might be,
something.
That might be the actual. Yeah, that might actually be the joint right there. So, we all excited for the movie. Paul, all my Black Panther heads, I know you guys have been waving at recast T'Challa Banner.
The cult of Bass is cautiously hopeful.
Yeah, well, the cult of Bass is going to have to deal with what we get.
No, not.
You don't have to accept it, but it is what it is. Now, I will say, Angela Bassett, the Queen, did say that this movie that they have filmed is better than the first one.
What is she supposed to say? What is she supposed to say?
No. You're going to put some respect on the Queen's heart.
I'm not disrespecting her, but in reality, what is she supposed to say?
This is the legendary Angela Bassett.
Okay. She didn't have to say
anything. Richard, I know who she is. I'm not discrediting. I'm not discrediting her worth and her value, but the reality of the situation is she is an actress, She is paid under her contract with Marvel to do publicity and promotions. That's why you have photo ops. That's why you have movie premieres. That's why you have interviews. They do that because they are paid. It is part of their contract. She can't go out there and say, yeah, I just finished filming. The movie sucks. Or it's all right.
Hold on now, Paul.
That's not what she's getting paid to do.
And on the other end, she didn't have to say anything at all about it.
Yes, she does. But she does. She's contractually obligated to say something.
Well, Paul, hold on, Paul. If that is the case,
yeah,
why haven't we heard from Winston Duke? Why haven't we heard from Lupita? Why haven't we heard from Letitia Wright?
Because they just finished filming.
The Queen Mother say something.
Do you honestly? Let me ask you a question. Do you honestly think any of these actors say anything without Marvel's approval ahead of time?
Well, you know what? We're gonna get to something like that in our next low-hanging fruit topic.
Actually, let me drop a little something though.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
While they are contractually obligated to prop up the movie and promote the movie, I'm pretty sure that they would give Angela Bassett her respect, and then she didn't have to really say anything about the movie at all, because nobody else is saying anything. Now, the fact that she said something, it might, I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. It might actually be fire.
I doubt it.
Well, you know what? See, that's what happens when you have fandom. See, this Black Panther fandom, these rabid fans, whatever, they just so they anytime their hero get mentioned, they get triggered. And it's okay. You know what I'm saying? It's okay. I love T'Challa. I want him to be in the movie, but guess what? Nobody's bigger than Wakanda. Okay? Okay? They started the Midnight Angels because they couldn't trust T'Challa. Okay.
Wow. Now we throwing this. Now we're trying to prop up the film by disrespecting the Black Panther, which is the whole point. This is the whole point of the recast T'Challa movement. You're making my point for me. That in order to support the movie, you have to support the concept that T'Challa doesn't need to be a part of the film. I mean, that's just it's why Black people? Why
no
appreciate and have nice things? We can't have we have to like subject ourselves to like second hand-me-downs, like accepting the concept that our superhero doesn't have to actually be in the film. No other people does that. They don't make a Batman film and say, you know what, Batman's not going to be in it.
Paul Davis, please. Okay, if you and your feelings about T'Challa like that, I want you and all the rest of you recast T'Challa fans, stay y'all behinds at home. When the Black Panther movie premieres, if you so hurt that they won't recast it, stay home. But you know what? You ain't gonna stay home.
I don't know. Nobody knows.
Just nobody like all the rest of us.
Nobody knows what the film is going to have until you see it.
Just like the rest of us. And when you come out the theater, you're gonna have a smile on your face because in Feige, you guys trust.
We of the cult of Bast remain cautiously optimistic.
So listen, okay.
Whether or not the cult of the Black Panther will accept this film as official Wakandan lore,
you know what?
Will greatly depend on the outcome of the film.
You know,
that is all Bast would allow us to say today, and that is all. We will say nothing further on the subject. We are done.
Listen, your accent is so bad. Your accent is so bad. Your boy is Shuri is that. I mean, no, Zuri. Zuri is asking you to stop. Okay.
Zuri is with the ancestors in the Djala, and I have spoken with him after taking the hot shit up, and he agrees that T'Challa must be recast immediately in the films for the future of Wakanda. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And we want to thank you.
Willie agrees with me. Says Paul White Davis is correct. because Gabrielle Union's movie in Disney's new version of Cheaper by the Dozen is not good. The acting is bad. Just saying.
Well, see now, Willie. Now, nobody told you we ain't talking about biracial movies, okay? Biracial, we pick bad movies. I'm sorry. Did I say that? Oops, my bad. We're gonna have to edit that out.
Zach Braff gets a Zach Braff may not get an invite to the cookout, but he gets a hot plate on a styrofoam plate with aluminum foil. He gets his plate.
You know, listen, I don't even know why they did that. You know what I'm saying? And Willie, there's certain things that should just be left alone. Cheaper by the Dozen is a classic. They didn't have to do what they did. They had the little biracial children running around there, and half of Black America's like, what the hell is this?
Let me ask you a question. Let me tell you. You asked why they have to do that. Let me ask you a question. If they had done Cheaper by the Dozen with Gabrielle Union having 6 kids and Will Smith having 6 kids, what would Black America's reaction have been? Oh, these people just making a whole bunch of babies. Why they got to depict Black people with a whole bunch of babies? Like they just can't stop having babies.
Well, no, see. Here's the thing about that. See, Black people historically we've always had big families. We've always had big families. So even when you talk, we can't talk about. I mean, my mom. You're digging the whole formula. My mom was the oldest. Listen, my mom was the oldest of 10. Okay, you know, big families is not a big deal. We you know, it became a issue in the Reagan era, so when they want to put, you know, Black women as the face of welfare, even though a vast majority of people that were on welfare at the time and currently right now are mayonnaise. You know, the mayonnaise is strong with the welfare. I don't care what they say. The numbers bear that out.
Yeah,
the numbers bear that out. Now, let me get back to this work with T'Challa.
Yeah.
Now,
you're going back to the Cult of Bast again? Let me call it Cult of Bast.
Hold on. When we go to the movie theater, those of you that will be outside the theater with your tiki torches and your sign saying "Read Cast T'Challa," read Cast T'Challa. I'm gonna be out front, you know what I'm saying, and I'm going to come out the theater, and you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just spoil it for y'all. I'm gonna be like, guess what?
Oh,
you guys, this is the best movie.
Don't do that.
The best movie ever. The best movie ever. Wakanda forever. don't do that to me. Don't do that. So anyway, listen.
That the Cult of Bast would be calm on that day.
Yeah.
Here's the most.
You know what?
Look.
I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the Cult of Bast.
In reality, here's the thing. It's not about whether or not they recast T'Challa in this film. It really isn't. Because he can always come up in the third film or whatever. What it's about is two things. One, and the biggest thing I think is trying to make money off of Chadwick Boseman's death by making that part of the story. That's making money off of a man's death. That's disrespectful. You want to talk about, we're doing it to honor him? No, you're not.
Hey, bro, you get no argument from me on that.
That's the biggest thing. You don't need, and here's the other thing. You have kids that this movie changed their whole perceptions of what a superhero is. And for them, little kids, and I didn't have this experience growing up. I didn't have a Black Panther movie to like grow up with and make that my main superhero. You know, in 1979 or 1978, I had Superman. I had Christopher Reeves. You know, he was that image that I had of, wow, I could fly. Or if I was white, maybe I could fly. But you know, Black Panther for a huge generation of kids, that's that dude. And to have that character killed in the film because the actor died, that's like killing your superhero twice. These kids already know that Chadwick Boseman died. Yeah. There's no reason there's
here's
no
the thing, though,
reason to
Paul. We don't
kill
know.
T'Challa in the film.
We cannot confirm that that's what they're doing.
Well, that's what I said. When you said, "Hey, you don't stay your butt at home," I'm no. I have to go to the film because I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I hope that's why I remain cautiously optimistic. I'm not one of those people that says ban the movie. Like my man Mark is like, yeah, let's ban. We're banning the movie. Like we're like, dude, you haven't even seen the trailer. You have no idea what direction they're going. But I'm saying if they do decide to kill T'Challa in the film, A, you're trying to profit off of Chadwick Boseman's death. B, you're killing a superhero for kids that literally worship this superhero. There's no reason. They've already had to mourn Chadwick Boseman dying. You want to kill him on the screen so they can do that again? So you can make your next $2 billion? No, sir. That for me is disrespectful.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can.
I think what it is, let me break in here. I think what it is that we as Black people, we tend to worship things and then we take it a little bit too deep. Because again, we have no idea what they're doing in this movie. Okay. All we've heard is that the shenanigans that Letitia Wright was doing, and they were having trouble filming because of COVID. I would prefer that we would just trust in Kevin Feige and trust Marvel that they will do a movie that won't kill our idealization of Black Panther himself, and to be able to respect their friend Chadwick Boseman. Again, we didn't know this man. We did not film next to this man for months on months. Okay. I think we're just taking this little thread and then we're going straight to doomsday, like, oh my God, they're going to kill Black Panther in the movie.
Well, it didn't happen.
No
it didn't happen.
We have no idea what they're doing.
This didn't start in a vacuum, though, Tamiko. I think Marvel just, quite frankly, you said trust in Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige and Nate Moore, the producers, they kind of dropped the ball on handling the whole situation. That's where all this really started. To go out and tell people, yeah, we're not recasting T'Challa like ever. Well, they didn't say ever. We're not recasting T'Challa.
They didn't say that, exactly.
Right? They could have handled that. They could have simply said, we're not recasting. They didn't say that part, what you just said. They didn't say we're not recasting him for this film. They simply said, we're not recasting T'Challa. They didn't specify this film or, they were just so ambiguous and it's just unnecessary. You've had the single most popular superhero movie in the world. They know the world is waiting for another one. And I think it was unnecessary to be that ambiguous as to what you're doing.
But the thing
I think if they simply said,
did they really owe us anything? That's the thing. Okay.
Yes, we're the fans. We're the ones who
really owe Black people an explanation of how they're going to do this film with their star is gone.
If you were sitting down with Ryan Coogler, would you
said nothing? I'm
going
to say for moderator Tamiko, okay, I'd say we mourn our friend and we're sorry that we lost him, and then I wouldn't have said nothing else about the film. I would have honored him and then not say anything else, and it said our second Black Panther film is coming, and that's all.
Right, you can honor Chadwick Boseman. That has nothing to do with the film. The man died. The character didn't die. They're two separate things.
But again, we have no idea what they're doing.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree with you 100%. We don't know what they're going to do. I'm simply saying what I hope they don't do.
Here's the thing, though. I think that what we have to be mindful is that Marvel also has the history of feeding us things and it being not true. So with them being ambiguous or whatever, or them giving certain things like saying that we're not going to recast T'Challa in the 616, things to that effect or whatever, we can kind of take that with a grain of salt. And so here's the thing. Black Panther is a icon. We all know that. Kevin Feige knows that. Ryan Coogler knows that. This was a guy that partnered with Chadwick Boseman to give this character, he not only gave this character life, but he gave this character a measure of legacy for kids, old and young, to look up to. So either way, man, I mean, you know, come November the 11th, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, recast or not, or whatever, you're gonna go watch this movie. And if you're not gonna go watch it,
I think
feeling
people
like
still
that, and you know what I'm saying, you got bigger. But I do know that we have to, you know, we have to be, you know, very optimistic, because again, these guys are kind of like batting 1,000. Okay, you know, the worst movie that they may have put out, the Eternals, perhaps.
Which
say
wasn't,
what you want.
that says a lot, because that wasn't that bad a film.
No.
Yeah,
I
that's
would
my
say
point.
Ant-Man was the worst, but
No, it wasn't.
I like
Anyway, we can't go down. We can't go down this rabbit hole.
Thor
speaking
the
of-
Dark World.
speaking of-
Thor the Dark World is not a film I'd ever watch again.
Okay, listen, we can't stay on Black Panther, but we are going to continue to talk Marvel. The second part of low-hanging fruit, we want to talk about another actor, not Chadwick Boseman, but we would like to talk about the star of the Shang-Chi movie, or Shang-Chi movie. His name kind of escapes me.
Simu
Liu refuses to sign Master of Kung Fu Comics, and has got a lot of people in their feelings because he will not sign Master of Kung Fu Comics. The question becomes, why won't he sign these comics? Now, to be fair, he's doing it, or he's doing a con coming up, and his autograph is going to cost you 150 bones. But some people feel like because they're spending 150 bones, you should sign this comic. He's like, no. Now, he is on record of saying that he is unapologetically Asian. And the truth of the matter is, he feels that the Master of Kung Fu Comics and the character that Marvel created in its origin stories is very stereotypical and offensive. So, the mayonnaise online, you know, there's a few of y'all out there. Shout out to y'all. They don't like this. They don't like this. Where is this coming from? You know, what do you mean you won't sign the comics? You know, and then some of them had nerve to even say that, well, I just want to, he didn't create the comics, so I just want the writer and the artist to sign my books anyway. You know what I'm saying? They so offended, as if that people cannot state a reality. We talked about how offensive some of this stuff was initially, how stereotypical it was. Marvel has a history. I know we fawn over Marvel and its characters, but to sit here and say that some of the things that Marvel has put out has not been offensive, it's just being intellectually dishonest. So my man here, Simu Liu, says, you know what? Not my jam, baby. Not gonna sign it. Not gonna, and I don't blame him. I do not blame him. Why would you want your name on something that you find is offensive? That's the equivalent of me going out and asking White Culture to sign a Luke Cage book. And if Mike Coulter feels like Luke Cage, the character in Hero for Hire, is offensive, who am I to say that he shouldn't sign the book, that he should sign the book? So you guys tell me what you think about this.
What gets lost in this is a couple of things. One, why he refuses to sign. If you look at the interviews that Simu Liu did when they were first promoting the film, he literally said when he was approached about playing the role and given the materials about it, he's like, I wasn't going to take the role because I looked at the old comics and they were offensive. There was a lot of questionable stuff in those comics. And they purposefully changed many aspects of those offensive things for the film. You don't know what I'm talking about. Let me show you. Here's a Master of Kung Fu 17. These books were filled with a lot of Asian tropes. You got a superhero that runs around with no shoes.
Mm-hmm.
They would have Shang-Chi literally. They would have Shang-Chi literally like walking in snow with no shoes.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing they did with Brother Voodoo. Like everywhere he'd be, he'd have no shoes. Like that's supposed to show that you're some type of native type trope type thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And on top of all that, his father was literally Fu Manchu. He was colored yellow. Yellow. Like, look at his shirt, look at his skin. They colored the man yellow. Fu Manchu, for those of you who don't know, is an old Chinese. Think of it as a Chinese jigaboo. That is the equivalent of what Fu Manchu was.
Mm-hmm.
Fu Manchu dates back probably to like World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to come up with, the typical stereotypes to insult Asian people, unreliable, conniving, guy with machinations, usually depicted with big buck teeth and glasses and squinty eyes, scheming. It's not a good thing. And that's what they based Shang-Chi's father on, Fu Manchu. Now, if you see in the film, they renamed him. They called him Wei One or something like that. They made up some new name, right? They even talk about it slightly in the film in which they said, some people call me the Mandarin. Can you believe that? They named me after an orange dish. It's like a food dish. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to address things like that. Shang-Chi was the son of this Fu Manchu guy, raised to be an assassin, the greatest weapon, to be an evil, takeover overlord of the organization. But there is just a lot of bad things in this. It would be like, for example, and this is not unprecedented, right? Because when they did the Luke Cage series, Luke Cage has some problems too, right?
Oh yes.
I mean, you had a brother walking around with a bright yellow shirt, an afro, and a tiara, and a chain as a belt. Now, for those comic book people, fans, Tomiko said, there are some people that just take this stuff way too seriously and way too far, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're a hardcore Luke Cage stan, you would expect on the Luke Cage television show, he should have, where's his yellow shirt that's opened up to the belt, that's a chain, and his tiara and his big afro. Why doesn't he have that? That's what he has in the comics.
Oh.
And he should be saying "Sweet Christmas" every 5 words. He should be speaking in jive, because that's how the white writers would write him. Speaking in 1970s jives, talking about "I'm going to get you, sucker. Where's my money, honey?" The stereotypes of what they thought black men in the 1970s sounded like. They didn't do that, right? They didn't have Mike Coulter do that. In fact, they even parodied that when he got his powers in the show, and showed him with a yellow shirt, and the tiara was the thing he had over his head when he got his powers, just to show how ridiculous that would look. In short, there are plenty of things in Marvel's history that are just bad.
Yeah.
Bad.
Mhm.
If we
what
were
do you
to
think
have
about
a comics accurate version of everything, then Hawkeye should be disrespecting T'Challa at every turn. They kind of alluded that when you saw, because Hawkeye was a jerk to T'Challa when he joined the Avengers. They had this scene in Captain America: Civil War where Hawkeye's battling Black Panther, and Barton is like, "Hi, my name's Clint," and T'Challa's like, "I don't care." That's kind of a throwback to the concept that you were kind of a jerk to me. I got no love for you, you know, because their rapport was not good. It'd be interesting to see Ben Grimm portrayed with T'Challa on screen at some point, because Ben Grimm was darn near racist to T'Challa in the comics. Now, if we want to be comics, if we're reading comics accurate, is that how we're going to portray Ben Grimm? I mean,
no, not at all.
The people that are complaining about this are the fanboys of a certain persuasion, who, you're being disrespectful to Marvel Comics and fans. Well, first of all, half of you cats weren't even checking for Shang-Chi back in the day, so stop that. Also, it is what it is. Lulu did not say he's not signing comics. That's what's getting lost. He's not signing the Master of Kung Fu comics, which portrayed Asians in a negative light. Marvel has subsequently retconned a lot of that stuff. And they have other series that he is willing to sign. He's willing to sign the Shang-Chi series. He's willing to sign the Deadly Hands of Kung Fu series. He just won't sign the Masters of Kung Fu. The stuff from the 70s and 80s, he's not willing to sign that. But if you want to get, you can still get an autograph. He'll charge you $150 for an autograph. And the guy in the video was like, "Oh, he shouldn't be charging $150." All these guys charge that. A lot of these guys charge. Say that.
He's a star of the film.
He's a star of the film. It's his film. Of course, he's charging $150 to smell a whole bunch of fans and have them claw all over him and breathe on his face and stuff like that. Yeah, he's going to charge $150 for that. So,
Tamika, give me your thoughts, Tamika, on this as we wrap this up.
Okay, well, my thing is here. I'm an old school comic head, and I feel as though nobody should be signing the comics unless you are the writer or the artist. So you should not be letting Simu Liu sign anything that he did not personally do. That's one thing. That's the one thing. And then
he's not portraying that character anyway.
And the thing of those Master of Kung Fu comics, they are offensive. I read them. By today's lens, in today's standards, they are offensive. I mean, it was ridiculous from him walking around with no shoes on in the streets of New York, and his compatriots calling him the Chinaman, not even calling him by his name in like every other panel. But here's the main thing. Simu Liu is not disrespecting anybody, okay? He is setting an important boundary, okay? And I'm going to say it. White folks, they love to cross boundaries of people of color all the time. So as I watched that clip, and then I don't usually like to watch him because all he does is complain and badmouth comics all the time anyway. But as I just kept listening to him talk, they're sitting there thinking that Simu Liu should be happy to take our money and sign what we want him to sign. I said, but if he does not want to do that, he has every right not to do it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, the thing is too, this whole thing with let me just say this about our fandom. I love our tribe of Black collectors and a Black collective because we are unapologetically Black. And we're not toting a line. Because I did see some clowns, I guess they were quote unquote Black collectors, on that clip in the comment section. These bootlicks. I'm gonna stop short of calling them coons, but that's what they are. You know, I mean, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, we fight for representation. We fight for to be seen. Every group, marginalized group in America, in fandom, in comics, our only gripe is we want to be seen. You don't have to talk about what we do. You don't have to participate in how we live. We just want to be seen. These, the mayonnaise has been seen, overseen too long. And the truth be told, if you did not have people of color in your spaces, in your comic books, naturally your comic books would be, they would be whack. They would be just whack. You need diversity. I think these white people don't understand how much they need diversity. They can't even hear them. They can't even hear themselves. They can't even see themselves. They so entitled. They've been so entitled. It's like if you show a black face, show a yellow face, a red face, it's a problem, and I hate that. I mean, where in the world do they feel like they're so entitled? So entitled. How you gonna tell this man who is proud to be Asian that he should do this because it's the right thing to do? You know, this is canon.
Willie says asking Simu Liu to sign a Master Kung Fu book is like asking Richard Wright to sign swastikas.
Listen, listen. You know, I'll punch a swastika on your face. That's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. But here's the thing. I just don't understand why they don't get it. Does that make sense?
They get it.
I don't.
They just want their way. That's all it is. They want their way.
I disagree. I don't think they get it. I think when you live in a world in which they live in a different world than everyone else, right? When you're at the top of the food chain, when you have that level of entitlement and privilege, you don't see the world the way the majority of other people do. And so your perception of reality is just different.
Well, here's the problem with that, Paul. We live in a sausage world. A sausage world. And what I mean by a sausage world is that do they even know what it took for them to get the power they have?
Don't care they have it. When you have power, you don't question having the power. You're happy to have it. You want to keep that you have it.
Well, you know what? I mean, if you want to, I can tell you the story of America in 2 minutes. Leave the country where you were. Just kind of get in a boat and just kind of float. Oh, are we in India? Are those Indians? Okay, we can't survive here. It's cold. You know, these people are going to teach us how to eat. They're going to feed us corn. They're going to show us how to live off the land. How blessing of them. You know what? I say we kill them all and take their land. Matter of fact, let's go to Africa and let's get a whole bunch of them to clear the land for us. Oh, after that, we've set them free. Let's lynch them for 100 years. Let's give them crack and AIDS. Okay, you know what? Let's just erase all the history. Let's just erase it. That didn't happen. That didn't happen. Slavery didn't happen. Jim Crow didn't happen. You guys are just CRT. You critical race theory guys. You're just out of line. Don't put that in your comic books. I don't want to see no woke stuff in my comic books. Why can't Captain America be a good white man? Where are the good white people? Come on, Batman movie. Only 2 good white people in the whole movie. This is the world we live in.
And because of that, I'm not willing to give them a pass or benefit
No.
of the doubt. Okay, we're
Not at all.
in 2022. Anything you want to know, you got a computer in your pocket. You can find that out. Okay.
Willie says people don't try to understand the power until they lose it. There's no concern until the power is no longer there. That's what I said earlier.
Yeah.
When you have power, you don't sit there and question it. You just want to make sure you
You know
maintain
what?
it. I don't care how you got it.
I think you're muted, Tamiko. I think you're muted.
We have to get to the point that we
Okay.
are not going to take this anymore. And that's basically what's slowly happening, but it's not happening fast enough for me.
Yeah.
We just got to get to the point of we're just not going to take your BS anymore. Okay.
Well,
and we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't have to. Simo Lu shouldn't have to. Anybody else who is not white should not have to put up with this kind of nonsense.
Well, it's not just the lack of willingness to put up with it. It's having the power to not have to put up with it. You know, taking advantage of the opportunities of power that we do have and trying to seize more for ourselves. And also recognizing that there are powers in numbers. You know, a lot of the power some of these people in the minority you know, it's almost a misnomer when we use this term minority, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
There are more black and brown people in the world than there are white people. That's the reality. And so when the minority starts to recognize that they're really the majority, kind of like, you know, what happened in Haiti in their independence, things happen. You start thinking about unifying yourselves, recognizing that there's more that binds us than that divides us. And that's the scariest proposition for those that have power, because when the numbers aren't on your side and what gives you power, what the people that perform the labor that gives you the power, the people that make up the armies that give you power, the people that, if you're following your own rules, vote you into office to give you power, if they all realize that you're truly the enemy and they decide to bond together rather than focus on these little divisiveness things that we crabs in the barrel often do to each other, then that's something they can't stop. That's what they fear the most.
Yeah.
You can't have little black kids thinking they can be president someday. You can't have little black girls look at Kamala Harris and say, you know what, that could be me someday. You can't have little kids look at Ketanji Brown and say, wow, I could be a member of the Supreme Court someday, even though I'm a black woman. Because that's just away at the perception of you not being in your place.
Well,
that's dangerous. That's why we're having hearings for a week with a woman who's more qualified than the last 3 people to be on the Supreme Court by far.
Well, that's another tale. But either way, guys, we got to wrap this segment up. I just want to, in closing out this segment, I just want to say that, you know, the situation with Shang-Chi and the movie and the actor, you know, it's an unfortunate situation that we find ourselves in 2022 still having to apologize or still having to explain our position on things, our ability to explain, you know, why we're taking the stance that we're taking, our ability to explain, you know, someone says, I don't understand why you're doing this. Okay. It boggles my mind, but hey, they are what they are. You know, they are the mayonnaise, and you know, all mayonnaise, you know, hey, don't get mad at me because mustard is coming up on y'all.
brown mustard.
Brown mustard, you know, the
spicy,
honey mustard,
spicy brown mustard.
You know what I'm saying? The Grey Poupon. let's say, in less than 30 years, 40 years, you guys are going to be the minority in this country. And you're going to find your presidents ain't going to look like you, and people ain't going to be talking like you. You know what I'm saying? And you better learn how to speak Spanish. Because I promise you ain't going to like what you're going to see in 50 years if you're around. So, but anyway, serious talk though. We wish that brother well, and you know what I'm saying, I just hope that he continues to give them hell.
Yeah, I mean, him taking that position shines light on that concept. I'm all for it. Hats off to him, because when they have to ask, well, why won't you sign it? And he explains to them, have you read the book? Do you know what you're asking me to sign?
Mm-hmm.
I
don't think they're even thinking about it.
They're not thinking about that.
Yeah. But I'm really disappointed in some of these, in some of the black fandom. I mean, you guys that are canon guys, I get it. I'm to a certain degree, I'm a canon guy, but I would never put myself in a position where I would ask somebody to sign something, because I want to take this book with your signature and I want to flip it, because that's basically what these guys are doing anyway. I mean, half of these guys they're not even fans, know how. So, miss me with that. Miss me with this, that you are diehard fans and all you care about is the comics, and no, you're a liar.
It's like if you're one of the black fans that are having issues with this, imagine this: if they did a Shazam movie and they decide to revamp the character of Steamboat and put a new black guy in the movie as Steamboat, his character, but instead of Steamboat, his nickname is Steamboat because he is in the Navy. He's some heroic, Navy SEAL guy who runs a boat, and his nickname is Steamboat, but his real name is, Omar Steamboat Johnson. Right? And he's the most badass guy you can imagine. He's nothing like the caricature. They completely revitalized the character. He's actually heroic and honorable, kicks ass, etc. Nothing like how you saw in the comic. So someone comes around and says, hey, Will Smith, we want you to come sign this Shazam comic with Steamboat on it. Will Smith says, no, I'm not signing that, because what you're asking me to sign with that Steamboat character, the big lips and the caricature and that's not something I'm interested in signing. Yeah, issues with that?
I don't know. What am I saying? I'm wondering where Tomiko's at.
Willie said Marvel messed up and made the Ancient One a woman instead of an Asian person, as it was in the books. They made that move, and many didn't like that. In fact, it's one of the few times Kevin Feige messed up, and he actually apologized and recognized and acknowledged the fact that Marvel messed up, because they thought they were being woke by re-envisioning the Ancient Woman as a woman, not realizing that, hey, you replaced an Asian with a Celtic person. That wasn't a good look.
Yeah, that was talk about being tone deaf, bro. They really got to follow that one. So
Tomiko looks like she might have lost her connection.
Okay. Man, I hope she comes back with us, but we got to keep going. So our next segment, we're going to get down the rabbit hole.
Down the rabbit hole.
Down the rabbit hole. And in going down the rabbit hole, we're going to talk about Milestone.
Yeah.
Milestone 2.0. We have just completed Icon and Rocket. We just completed season 1 of that book, and we just completed season 1 of Static. And we're getting ready to get the last couple of issues of Hardware. Hopefully. And we have, hopefully, and we have Blood Syndicate in the pipe.
In May, I think, right?
So, just your fundamental or your basic thoughts, given what you've been got, what we have received now. I know you said a lot about the future and the speculation of what's coming.
Yeah.
In regards to that, how do you see this version of Milestone versus the version that we got in the 90s? Because I bring this up because while there is definitely a lot to be excited about, and I want to be, very optimistic, but I'm kind of still 50-50. And the reason why I'm kind of 50-50 is because I just feel that one of the major characters of this line, Hardware, a book that initially they didn't want to do. And it was like, we're gonna give you guys the book. First they said, no, we're not gonna do that. First they said, we're just gonna do something digital. We're gonna give you guys a trade, a static trade. No, we changed our mind. We're gonna do floppies. They understood it. They're Milestone guys, fans who want to read the comics, want to read the floppies. So they gave us floppies. Okay. He said that he wasn't going to do Hardware at all. Jim Lee said it out his mouth in DC Fandom that there were no plans to do a Hardware book. Okay. Well, we gave us Hardware book. Okay. We're excited. And Hardware gave us a reminder of what it was. And I struggled with the books that came out, particularly Static, in that this new iteration of Static was just not my version of Virgil Hawkins. And maybe I'm just an old head and I just need to go somewhere and sit down and read my books from the 90s and be content and let the youngsters have it. I get that. But I did collect the books. I did buy the books. I did support Milestone. And so with that being said, right now I'm still 50-50. Now they talked about, possibly merch. They talked about possibly, come on, Tamiko, come on back. Come back to Jamaica. Come on back.
Sorry, y'all. My camera done died on me. So
that's okay. That's okay.
I have to get my voice.
We can still hear you.
All right, no problems. So we're talking about the down the rabbit hole. We're talking about Milestone 2.0. And so given that we've got a couple of runs in or first seasons in, and with the potential of them being able to do a lot, Reginald Hudlin said a lot in our press junket. Go find that on blackcomiclords.net. You can also find it, I believe, on YouTube on our Black Comic Lord channel. You can see that press junket. So given what I just said and my thoughts of it being kind of 50-50, I'm still kind of like this with my arms folded, wait and see type deal. Because the Hardware book started off very promising, and now I really don't have no feelings for it at all. And it's unfortunate that I don't know what was the writing process, the creative process going on with Milestone, but that was a big that has been a big letdown, and while the Icon and Rocket has been the best thing that they put out, I gotta say, shout out to Icon and Rocket, because man, y'all did that thing on that book. Static, I can live with it. but Hardware, you remember that character, that movie Sandlot? You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. You're killing me. So y'all tell me, what do you think about this iteration of Milestone 2.0 versus the old Milestone stuff?
Icon and Rocket was absolutely fire. I think if you truly look at those books and you go to every single issue, you always find something new. That is those 6 issues could literally be broken down in a college course. and I don't say that lightly. I'm not, just blowing sunshine up their ass. I mean, there was a lot to unpack in those books in a good way. And that's why I'm really fired up about Milestone's future and that particular series' future. Every issue had you wanting more. You saw stuff that you never got to see before. In the interview, Reggie Hudlin said, when I asked him, what was your favorite scene to do? And he said, that scene where I got to cut off Jefferson Davis's head and have Icon come out the flames with Jefferson Davis's head. That was like cathartic. I mean, I think
I
for
told you,
Black
I need that.
readers,
I don't know who gonna do it, but I need that on a shirt.
like seriously, that was a cathartic scene. He likened it to Inglorious Bastards and having them pummel Hitler, having the Jewish soldiers pummel Hitler. That's how cathartic it was for Black people to see Icon with Jefferson Davis's head coming out of a burning plantation. That's wow. And then you have the concept of Icon, who's got 300 years of history behind him, of American history behind him, imparting his knowledge to young upstart Rocket, teaching her about politics and about law and about finance. Something Black people, we never talk about. Finance. How do we finance? How do we learn how to govern our money, and make our money make more money? Basic stuff that is common to other cultures, but are just anathema in our own. He talks to her about it. He's mentoring her not just as a sidekick, but as a person, as a young Black woman. These are things you need to learn how to do so that you can be better for yourself. He is, in essence, preparing to replace him, if you really think about it. If he were to hop in his spaceship and leave, he's preparing her to fulfill the role as Earth's protector without him. And that's a nuance I think I don't know if a lot of people picked up on. So there's a lot more to it, but Icon and Rocket, Firebug. Static, I agree with Richard with the concerns on how Virgil was portrayed initially. He was not Virgil Hawkins. He wasn't. I'm sorry. Those first couple of issues just had me scratching my head like, that just was not the way Virgil was portrayed. But it got better as it went along. By the time they got to issues 5 and 6, you got to see the real Virgil Hawkins, or a closer version than what we saw in issues 1 through 4. 5 and 6 were good issues. 6 was really, really good. It's just a matter of taste on the art. I like Nicholas Draper Ivy's art on 5 and 6. I think even in the comments that he made, he felt somewhat like he really wasn't able to really cut loose, because it was kind of a co-artistry between Chris Cross and Nicholas Draper Ivy. Chris Cross was doing the breakdowns, Nicholas Draper Ivy was doing the finishes. And I think when he got to do the book completely by himself, his art style changed, which was cool. It was cool. And it also ended on a cliffhanger, which led you hopeful for the future in terms of the introduction of the characters they brought in from the cartoon series. Hardware was my favorite Milestone book in the original run back in the 90s when I first was reading and collecting them. The problem with Hardware is it's just been too much time between issues. I mean, 2 of the titles have already wrapped up, and they're still waiting on issue 5 on this book. The last book seemed like a lot of filler, honestly. Not a lot happened. And that's a problem. That's a problem. The fact that there are delays would indicate that they might be just filling the book with some filler. I don't know what the problem is, but it doesn't bode well when they're not able to meet their schedules, and it shows in the book. And as a general rule, when you have delays on books, people lose interest. It loses the fire and the heat. Like when I was reading Icon and Rocket, I couldn't wait for the next issue. Now that even if I had that feeling on hardware, the feeling's gone because 3 months have gone by between issues. So that's how it is. Hopefully season 2 on all these titles will be better. We have Blood Syndicate, which everyone's been craving for. That's coming in May. And I genuinely believe that better things are to come for Milestone.
Okay. What about you, Tamiko? What do you think about this version of Milestone?
Well, I'm pretty much going to agree with the consensus. I have the original Milestone books, majority of them, and they were ahead of their time back then.
Still are.
Yes. So this new capsule, the season ones, it bothers me because, I'm thinking seasons as in television shows, not exactly comics. They could have just simply said issues or a limited series or something like that. But it updates the Milestone characters and brings them into the world in a way that people who read today should have no problems coming into it and really liking it and really deciding, well, you know what? Since this is really good, I'll try to go back and get those old issues to see if they're as fire as these. Because, like I said, story-wise, I'm easy. If you give me a nice story that makes sense,
yep,
I'm down. And I'll even overlook art if it's not pleasing to my eyes, if the story is good. And I think that the upgraded stories is pretty good for the little bite-sized morsels that they're giving you these days. Because, of course, people today, like I always say, people today have the attention span of a fruit fly. So this is good for those people. See, I'm not one of those type of people. No. And if I can rock with it, I think it's really good for the future.
Yeah. Hopefully it gets better. I do believe that Reginald Hudlin is going to, and the whole crew is going to put their best foot forward to make this, this franchise a success. And Paul, to your point earlier, you said that, if Milestone is successful, then all other comic book companies will be successful too, which can transition ourselves into our next topic or our next segment, which is, am I on to something? Or am I on something? Is Rich on something, or is Rich on to something? Question on this segment is, why Black comic heads cannot quit Marvel and DC? Marvel and DC are two companies that have been around for a very long time. And they have given us lots of stories and lots of art, lots of fandom to fawn over for generations, right? But the question becomes, we see these independents that come along, that come on the scene, and they give us something different to look at or different to consider. Behind me is on my wall are all independent companies, whether they be Clips, Image, Skybound, Millennial, who else? I want to say Valiant, Stranger Comics. Shout out to Sebastian and Niobe. These are all independent titles behind me. And so we don't necessarily need Marvel and DC, but we fawn over Marvel and DC. And so the question becomes, why is it? Because I said last year that it was going to be a year of I was just going to do independent Black independent owned books. I was not messing with Marvel and DC at all. I said it out my own pie hole. I said it on this platform. I feel like Jimmy Swaggart. I let you guys down. I thought I was going to be able to do it. I did not last 30 minutes. Because in me saying that, which is probably back in like, I want to say October, November, I was thinking about, man, if I don't collect Marvel and DC, that means I can't collect the Black Panther stuff. I can't collect the Milestone stuff. Am I going to be able to do this? I couldn't. So I'm on record as saying Black comic heads are addicted to Marvel and DC.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
You don't think? Hold on. So you telling me, Paul, that you could walk away from Marvel and DC, or you know what? I'm gonna just say Marvel because you know that's where your guy is. You can't take T'Challa with you, bro. You can't take him with you.
Let me finish.
Okay.
You postulated the question: can Black people walk away from Marvel and DC? I don't think it's a Black people problem. I think it's a comic head problem. It has nothing to do with whether you're white, Black, or whatever.
Yeah, but I'm talking about Black folks. I'm talking about us.
Let me finish.
Okay.
It's about comic heads in general. It's about particularly older comic heads. When you've grown up with these characters, you have to remember that comics is a form of entertainment. It's a form of refuge for many of us. It's a form of escapism. And when you want to seek escapism as a form of comfort, you go to what you know. And it's comfortable because you know who Spider-Man is. You know the parameters of what's going to happen in a Spider-Man comic. You know the parameters of what's going to happen in, a Luke Cage comic. You know what's going to happen in the parameters of a Black Panther comic. You don't know what's going to happen in the parameters of an independent book. And there's a reliability in the mainstream books because they're always there. They're not going anywhere. Certain characters aren't going anywhere. Well, because they're part of that mainstream. You mentioned the books behind you, so let's take a look at that. I'm looking at the books behind you. Of all of those books, I see one that's currently in print still. All those other ones are out of print. They either had limited runs.
Which one?
The Stranger Comics.
No, it's two. At least two on here.
Name the other one. Oh, Bass Reeves. Bass Reeves is still out.
Well, that's another one. That's actually three. But this
where's the second? What's that? I can't see. There's a glare on it.
I'll take it out. It's Delta Dogs.
Oh, okay, Delta Dogs. All right, so that's three books that are currently, and Delta Dogs is doing really well. It's like in the 20th issue or 12th issue, something like that.
Yeah. So
out of the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, you got a dozen books up there. You've got 3 that are ongoing books. A lot of independent books don't last that long, is the problem. And people like to have the familiarity of having a story that goes on. I could have been a Spider-Man fan from when I was 12, and now at 49, I can go into a store and say, I'd like to pick up a new Spider-Man book. And I know what to expect because Spider-Man is still Spider-Man, right? We like that comfort. So I think but I think for younger cats, it's not a big deal. If you look at a lot of people that are like, oh, I do nothing but independent, it's usually younger people. It's people our age, we're the ones that have a hard time
walking
getting
away.
getting off that hit, not having that hit.
Mhm.
So, given that that's the case, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How do we how can I answer this? Ask this, I should say. How do we kind of deal with that? Because to your point, you're right. However, I would say that how does a Stranger Comics become a mainstay if we don't buy in? Because what I'm getting at is that, see, it's easy for us to say that I want to support independent Black books, right? Or independent creators. And yet a portion of my resources goes to those mainstream titles. What if I decide to just like dare myself to say, you know what? I am going to fully buy into independent Black owned comic book companies, Black owned creators.
Mm-hmm.
Do we are we selling ourselves short?
I wouldn't use the term selling ourselves short, but I have frequently said in these spaces that we as a people are constantly trying to say it has to be one way or the other. I want it all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't limit myself. So there's no reason you can't collect mainstream and independent. What you don't hear white people having these conversations. Why are we doing that? For an answer to your question, let's try this. If you're a Batman fan and you still want the comfort of reading Batman, then pick up Batman. Don't pick up Detective Comics, Future State Gotham, Batgirls, Catwoman, Robin, Nightwing. That's where you have, instead of focusing on all of those, cut back on the mainstream books budget wise and get one Batman book, get your one Spider-Man book, get your one Black Panther book. And then with the money that you've saved on those, and you still got your comfort, go spend on independent books. Because that's what I do. I still get Marvel and DC books, but probably about half of what I get is also independent. If not half, definitely a third of what I get is independent books. And that wasn't always the case. That was just purely Marvel and Batman.
I mean, I'm just asking these questions because, you know, it's like when we talk to independent creators,
yeah,
and they want our support. They actively solicit our support, and we either don't give it to them because we just may not like the art, we may not like the story, or whatever the case is. It's one of those things where it's like, man, I really want these books to succeed, but you know, because I'll draw an analogy. Just recently, Deion Sanders had a pro day at his college, at Jackson State University. Had a pro day, and a handful of teams went to the pro day at the school, but there were a handful of teams who didn't. And his thought was, man, y'all could have sent somebody, because the whole thought is, well, Division I or Division II schools, you know, or HBCU schools don't have the best athletes. And so it's like, okay, do we even bother with these HBCUs if my job is to go out and get the best of the best? And you know as well as I do is that if the kids that went to the Division I schools like Alabama, like Miami, like Rice, or like Auburn, or like Boise State, if they all went to HBCUs, then there would be nothing to watch on TV come on on Saturdays.
Well,
you would
there'd
be
stuff
watching,
to watch. It just wouldn't be that good.
Yeah, you would be watching Alabama State. You'd be watching Texas Southern. You'd be watching Southern University. You'd be watching, FSU.
Did you just throw shade at FSU?
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But you get what I'm saying.
Willie said.
We know that there's levels we know that there's levels to this thing. So it's like, okay, well, do I look? Because I think we look at our independent creators sometimes that way, that we don't see them as being the best or the top notch, even though they can. We have an artist right now that's in our space, Willie Cordy. Willie Cordy, his art is phenomenal. We know that, right? We've seen Willie's art in comic books. He did a cover for us. We know he's a great artist. Could he work at Marvel and DC one day? I don't know, Willie. Do you want to do that, or do you just like being independent, hanging out with grunts like us?
Willie said, "Is the longevity of those Marvel and DC characters that keeps people there. It's hard to put them down because of familiarity." That's what I was saying earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Merrill says,
me,
"I can do Image and Boom. Plus, I'm buying more Image than DC. Marvel is a close second."
Yeah. And again, I'm just asking questions because, it's like we have this fandom and we have so many. And I think too, the other part is that we have so many independents now. It's like rappers. There's 1,000 rappers. There's 1,000 artists now, and so there's a lot to choose from. Let's look at Godhood Comics, for example. Their book is Protagonist, who's only put out 3 issues, and yet they've been optioned for a show. You know what I'm saying? It looks like they're going to do pretty well for themselves. But we also have successes like, Black Sands Entertainment, who's doing not only comic books, but also doing animation. You know what I'm saying? They just landed a big deal with Kevin Hart on Shark Tank. And so they're looking to do something very, very, significant. And so it's like, as we get behind these independent creators and those who strive to be under those umbrellas or whatever, I just want us to be mindful as collectives that Marvel and DC is not the only game in town, and that, we can get a lot of good fandom or, out of these independents. Now, me personally, I want independent books that are going to focus on giving us story, being consistent. The art, I'll take subpar art, but if you give me a great story, I'm there for it. I really, really am. And so that's what my push to any independence or whatever is that, I mentioned Delta Dogs a little bit earlier. That guy has 20 issues. 20 issues. Most of these independents don't get past 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's significant to be at 20 issues as an independent.
So, that consistency, that's what we want, but it's hard to get that because Marvel and DC have the best of the best, so to speak. And, it's kind of I guess a catch-22. You know what I'm saying? Wanting to support independence, but at the same time, it's like, do I defer, or do because I expect excellence on any level, whether it's Marvel or DC. I want my Marvel and DC books to be good. You guys know I have no problem telling Marvel and DC and certain creators that their writing is trash. I try to be polite.
There are a lot of books. There are a lot of independent books that are really good in both art and writing right now. I don't think it's like over the last 10 years, independent companies have really stepped up. I'm not talking about the smaller ones, but certainly the larger independent companies, and you have a lot more of them. I mean, you got your Scouts, your Boom Studios, your Aftershock, your Titan, Black Mask. Image is still going strong. Image is at the point where you almost want to consider them a mainstream because of their corporate structure and how big they are. But Image has still managed to maintain its independent spirit because they don't have like a tied-in universe. They're trying to do one now with the Radiant Black, universe. But for the most part, Image is still mostly just a bunch of independent guys doing their independent stuff.
Okay.
So I mean, if you're into independence, there's more than enough quality independent stuff out there for people not have the excuse that the art and the stories just aren't good in independence, because that's just not true.
Okay. Well, Tamiko, let me ask you this, because I know you are a Stranger Comics fan.
Yes.
And Niobe is the truth. I think that she has the opportunity to break out. I don't know if Sebastian is looking for a deal like Unique Studios has with Dark Horse,
Mhm.
but there's room for that. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, what is your thoughts when you buy Stranger Comics? And here's the thing too: a lot of people love their covers. Their covers are iconic.
Yeah.
Um,
Nobody's doing
the
better covers than Stranger Comics.
Yeah, nobody's
Mhm.
doing better covers than Stranger Comics. The Tribe Called Quest one, that
I
cover
love
is
it.
amazing.
Yeah, I gotta
That
get
cover
that
is
one.
amazing.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, Tamiko, you tell me. I mean, you know what I'm saying? What a character with the appeal of Niobe, who has a full universe kind of operating.
Mhm.
Tell me your thoughts when you look at it compared to, say, books that you might read from Marvel and DC.
Well, I was introduced to comics through Marvel because my first love was X-Men. So, and that was pretty much it back then. I think what the difference is how people curate their collections these days. Because if now
Hmm.
you want to just get black comics, there is way more black comics today than it was back then. And I mean, I never even
Right.
collected DC like that until they started breaking out the Black Green Lantern, the Black, well, Nubia. I'm not going to call her the Black Wonder Woman because that's disrespectful. The other black people that they're sprinkling in through their universe. Because I mean, I've never bought DC until I started collecting Black Manta, Aquaman, Jackson Hyde, and all those other things. It's how you curate your collection and what you decide that you're going to collect. Because I mean, you can now today you can get all kinds of black comics independent. You don't have to go to Marvel or DC to get what they're offering. And that's the beauty of being in the time of today. Because again, I've been a comic book head since I was 12, and I'm 50, and I had never seen the amount of blackity black comics than the ones that have been coming out in the past 10 years. And I think it's great. I wouldn't even consider it an addiction because a comic head is addicted to comics, period. So
Right.
whether they be from Marvel, DC, Boom, Image, it doesn't really matter as long as you're collecting comics and you love comics.
Yeah.
Well, I know for myself, I'm going to try to continue to support and talk about independence as much as we talk about Marvel and DC. The thing about Marvel and DC is that let's just be honest, they have their rosters, their universes, their PR, their money is the difference. You know what I'm saying? We all kind of grew up with Marvel and DC. And while these new independent, titles come along and some of them are here today and they're gone tomorrow, um, the hope is that these books, that they sprout new interests. Marvel, not Marvel, Milestone is also, in addition to the um, Blood Syndicate book that they're putting out, there is another title coming out, brand new character. I think it's called Oni, I want to say. Um,
You talking about Milestone?
yes,
It's
they,
Duo.
they, they have
It's
Duo.
called Duo.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a new title also that's going to be coming out in the future. So we're going to get brand new characters, and let's just be honest. You know what I'm saying? We need Milestone to win, for more eyes to get on the genre or um the niche that Milestone falls in. Because let's just be honest, guys. Black comics only appeal to black heads for the most part. I think a few others getting on um they kind of get it, you know what I'm saying? Some white cats get it. I've talked with a few. But one of the milestone titles that they had back in the 90s was Zombie. which was
Yeah.
like a Korean,
Mhm.
character, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And we just had a conversation with Anjali Roche talking about
Whoa!
the
Shh.
why we can't talk about that. I'm sorry.
No.
Say
No.
to him, we got
Come on,
something.
man.
That's not
Oh, yeah.
how we're going to roll this out.
You
I'm
always
sorry.
on this show every Sunday we always releasing all the tea on the inner workings of the Black Comic Lords.
Listen. I just did one of your numbers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you pulled the me pulling the Tom Holland.
I pulled the Paul. Well, I will just simply say this. I'm gonna just do the Jedi mind trick. You didn't hear what I just said for the past 30 seconds. So anyway,
they don't need to know our business.
Yeah. Suffice to say that we got some business, and you guys are in for a treat. I will say that. So, but look,
there's just no stopping you.
There's no stopping. I'm Diddy. Can't stop, won't stop. But look, y'all.
Tamiko, I need you to be the Kevin Feige of the group and keep Richard in check.
Ooh,
give him the look.
Anyway, sorry about that, y'all. But look, we had so much fun on tonight. We talked about a myriad of things. We talked about books of the week.
Can I point out one thing on this subject, though?
Sure, go ahead.
Let me share something with you guys. This is what we have upcoming this week. I would do it from our website, but I haven't uploaded these books yet. But this is from League of Comic Geeks. These are a bunch of books that are coming out this coming week, the black titles, so the titles that have black characters in them. There are 11 total titles here. There's more covers here there's multiple covers for various titles, but there's 11 total titles. Of these titles, there's one DC, Aquaman, right here. There are
That's
5. Yeah,
it's issue 2, right?
That's issue 2. There are 5 Marvel books with black characters. Captain Marvel, which has Monica Rambeau. Dark Ages, Immortal X-Men, Miles Morales, and Excellent. The rest of these titles are independent. You have Beyond the Farthest Star. You've got The Heathens. You've got The Last Session. Noctera's got black characters of significance in there. Spawn. So almost half these titles are independent books. You can't say that you don't have any independent books of worth to get, because Spawn is the longest running black character. Noctera is on its 9th issue. This new book, Last Session's on its 4th issue. Heathen's on 5. The Beyond Farther Stars on issue 3. But there's options out there.
Absolutely. And hey, just don't treat it like your dating life. There are options.
I can't remember that far back.
Can you remember that? I don't want to remember that far back. I just say it like that. But no, seriously.
Budget wisely.
Yes. Do not go broke behind this. We cannot, offer you a place to stay. If your wife kicks you out, if your husband kicks you out, or if your landlord kicks you out, we just here to offer a service. We here to tell you about these books. We let you know when they're coming out. That's always how much money you want to spend. Well, that's up to you and your wallet, and how much you love variants. So, with that being said, the time is we're coming up on 2 hours in this live stream, so it's time for us to get up out of here. So, my closing notes, we talked about, Icon. We talked about Catwoman. We talked about Philadelphia. We talked about a lot of different things. We talked about Shang-Chi. We talked about white folks wanting to, the actor Simu Liu. Forgive me for murdering your name. the actor who played Shang-Chi. We talked about him not refusing to sign, the old, ancient, stereotypical books of Marvel.
Mhm.
I'm still baffled by that, but hey, I guess it's a white thing. Only they would understand. Either way, we talked about Milestone 2.0. We talked about Black Panther and the movie coming out, and Paul's insistence that they recast T'Challa. And we heard from the high priest and the representative of the cult of Bass, kind of rebuke us. I never been rebuked by somebody that doesn't exist for real. But hey, stranger things will happen. Comics, man.
I was channeling Best.
That's too funny. Listen, guys, we're going to get up out of here. We have had a blast. We have had fun. Please don't take what we say serious. We are just here for jokes. It's all jokes. Now, it's up to you to figure out, am I serious or am I playing? Might be doing both. But either way, we hope to see you next week. We hope you guys have a wonderful week. Please be safe. Please don't hurt nobody. Love each other. Take care of yourselves. And until next week, it's your boy Rich. I'm with the Queen Tamiko, our moderator, the High Priest of the Cult of Bass, the Dandada Paul. Until next time, we'll see you guys. Peace. Read the comments. Buy the comments.